Great. And so, of course, we're going to now move to, parental information on the FAFSA. And so there's a question that showed up last year on the FAFSA that will continue this year. And it said if the student had unusual circumstances which prevented contact with the parents. So a parent's incarcerated or the parent is unavailable because the student is a refugee and the parent's out of the country, they can actually choose to say yes to this question. They'll receive a provisional SAI, which is the student aid index that colleges and the federal government will use to determine aid. And that will require follow-up with the institution of higher education, as well as most likely some documentation. There was confusion on last year's form because there was another question that a dependent student with a parent who's just refusing to contribute their information. It's not that there was no contact or no way to be in touch with that parent. It was just the parent was not going to contribute their information. And in that case, the student could say, my parents are refusing to complete the FAFSA. I would like to be considered for unsubsidized loans only. The wording on this question was very confusing. A lot of students filling out the FAFSA said, no, my parents will not contribute information and all I want is unsubsidized loans, when the reality was, no, their parents were willing. They wanted more financial aid, but the reality was they didn't understand the question. What happened with federal student aid was that wording was changed a number of times during the 24-25 cycle to see if that worked. What they did now, they have changed it to the form will autofill to no, meaning that the student can get parental information. They do not only want unsubsidized loans. And if the student changes the answer to yes, they'll get a screen that says, if you continue, you will not be eligible for most federal financial aid. So you can either continue or return to the form and fix it. We may find that that changes again because there was some information taken as far as feedback for wording from people to federal student aid, but we're hoping that there will be a workaround and less confusion around this question in this cycle. Another thing that we just wanted to mention is that after taxes have been transferred, right? This is the direct data transfer is a much easier process. And some of you who may have worked with students realize that instead of going to a separate page, trying to say yes to federal tax information, now there's just an accept button and that information will be directly downloaded. But if parents or independent students have an IRA or pension rollover on their tax return from 2023, federal student aid can't tell the difference between a rollover and a non-taxable distribution in the tax information that comes from the IRS. There will be a question to clarify on the 2025, 2026 FAFSA that asks about the rollover. You can't say all of it. You have to probably have, the parent would probably have to have a copy of their taxes and be able to put down the dollar amount.